Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC Fight Night, Magny versus Prates, weigh-in recap, as well as my final predictions for this week's bouts. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into it with the first bout of the night being Mullins versus Klaudia Sygula. And this one's an interesting one because of the fact that Mullins actually missed weight again. She missed weight in her fight against Nora Cornell, missed weight again here against Klaudia Sygula, who took this on short notice, but yet still made weight. So, I mean, time and time again, fighters are missing weight. I believe that there needs to be some type of penalty, something, because Mullins didn't even look like she was shaking. It didn't look like a hard cut, to be completely honest, for her. And yet she still couldn't make weight and just didn't really even care. I don't know. It was weird, but I'm still going with Mullins even though she missed weight. I believe that the grappling is still there, the clear-cut grappling advantage. I think that the striking, Klaudia has a slight advantage, but I think that Mullins will still be able to fare well. I mean, she has quick, clean combinations. She mixes up her shots to the head and to the body well. I think that she's going to use that grappling ability of hers, mix in her striking, find those level changes, take down Klaudia, maintain control of her, advance positions, and I could see Mullins winning a close 29-28 decision. I really feel as though this is going to be one of those fights where we stick to more of the rounds instead of the actual fight because of the fact that it's not really – you don't really want to touch Mullins at like negative 250, negative 260, which we'll see in a second what she's at. After she didn't really look the best on the scales, came in overweight. We don't know if she's going to tire out, if her gas tank's going to be an issue because of the weight. But I'm still going with Mullins. I think that she'll still be able to beat Klaudia because Klaudia hasn't really gone up against the best opponents, the best competitors. I think that she hasn't gone up against UFC caliber yet. So we're going to see how she does against Mullins. And I'm going with Mullins to win. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Klaudia Sygula first. She looks good. She looks jacked. She doesn't really look lean, but she still looks good, healthy. Not much muscle, but she still looks good. And let's go ahead and look at Mullins on the scale, in which she missed weight, like I said. She still looks good on the scales. She still looks healthy. She still looks jacked. I mean, she looks fine, but she just missed weight, and I think that she needs a penalty or something, man. Too many people are missing weight nowadays. And let's go ahead and look at the face-offs here, in which you could see Sygula is a tad bit taller, but they're fairly the same height, to be completely honest. I think this is going to be an interesting one where on the feet, Sygula is going to have a slight advantage, very, very slight. But I think that in the grappling department, there's a huge difference in which Mullins definitely has a grappling advantage. I think she's going to be able to take down Sygula, maintain control of her advanced positions, and I think she wins this 29-28. I like the decision on this one. And let's go ahead and look at the odds for this fight, in which Mullins sitting at a negative 260, Klaudia Sygula sitting at a plus 215. I like Mullins, but like I said, not very confident pick because of the fact that she missed weight and we don't know how her gas tank's going to look. But I do like the over in this fight here. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 450. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 260, negative 245, around there. I like the overs in this fight. I really am confident in this fight going the distance. Even though she missed weight, I believe that she will still be a tough competitor on the Mullins side. She will use that grappling ability of hers. I believe she'll take down Klaudia Sygula, eat at that clock, and find a win via decision. I think that Mullins is going to get it done via decision in a close-fought battle over Klaudia Sygula. And let's go ahead and run it up to the next fight on this card, which is Tresean Gore and Antonio Trocoli. And I am going with Tresean Gore over Antonio Trocoli. I feel as though Tresean Gore has that knockout power. He's going to be the better striker. I think Antonio Trocoli is a little bit slow and a little bit clunky on the feet at times. I think Tresean Gore should be able to beat Antonio Trocoli. I think it's going to be fairly close. I do believe that in terms of grappling, I think Tresean Gore has better wrestling, has better ability to take Antonio Trocoli down, where Antonio Trocoli has solid takedowns, but he mainly shines in being able to lock up those submissions. He has very tricky submissions. He's good. He's a very good grappler with relatively solid takedowns. I mean, he's in his fights, he looks good in the grappling side of things. It's just the striking. I mean, he looks fine. It's just awkward and clunky at times. I think Tresean Gore is a little bit more technical and has that knockout power. And I believe Tresean Gore is a little bit better at entering and exiting the pocket than Antonio Trocoli. Yes, Trocoli has the height and reach advantage. I think Tresean Gore is going to be too quick for him, be able to enter and exit the pocket with ease, be able to land shots, be able to pick apart Antonio Trocoli, mix in those level-changing takedowns because he has good wrestling and good pressure. I believe he's going to find success on the feet and in the grappling department against Antonio Trocoli, who could find some shots on the feet, but I believe that he's a little bit too slow and not as explosive as Tresean Gore. That's why I'm going with Tresean Gore over Antonio Trocoli. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which Antonio Trocoli looks jacked, looks healthy. He looks lean too. I mean, he looks good on the scales. He made weight. And so did Tresean Gore. Let's go ahead and move into Tresean Gore. Smiling on the scales, looks good on the scales. I mean, he looks healthy. He looks jacked. I believe that this is going to be a war between these two, to be completely honest. Tresean Gore and Antonio Trocoli, I think it's going to be a phenomenal fight. And let's go ahead and look at the face-offs here, in which you could see Antonio Trocoli obviously has the height advantage, as well as the reach advantage. Like I said, he has a 5-inch reach advantage and has a slight height advantage. Not a slight, a pretty good height advantage. And let's go ahead and look at the odds between these two, in which Tresean Gore is sitting at a negative 170, Antonio Trocoli sitting at a plus 145. And I like Tresean Gore. I think Tresean Gore beats Antonio Trocoli. I think he's better on the feet. In terms of grappling, I think that Tresean Gore is a good pressure wrestler. I think in terms of jiu-jitsu and actually finding those tricky submissions, I think Trocoli is better in that sense. But I think Tresean Gore will still shine in the grappling department, be able to maintain control of Antonio Trocoli, and also outstrike and overwhelm Antonio Trocoli. Over 1.5 in this fight, sitting at a negative 175. Under 1.5, sitting at a plus 135. Over 2.5, sitting at a plus 110. Under 2.5, sitting at a negative 140. I believe this goes over 1.5, but at the same time, Tresean Gore has that knockout power. I feel as though he could land a knockout on Antonio Trocoli. That is my pick. I'm going with Tresean Gore to land that knockout shot on Antonio Trocoli. I think he's too explosive. I think he's too quick. I think he's very good at entering and exiting the pocket. Give me Tresean Gore to beat Antonio Trocoli via knockout. And let's go ahead and look at the odds on that, in which Gore by knockout sitting at a plus 220, plus 215. So if you guys like that, definitely hop on it. I think Gore is definitely live to knock out Antonio Trocoli. And let's go ahead and move along to the next fight on this card, in Cody Stamann versus Damon Blackshear. And I'm sticking with my call in Damon Blackshear. Yes, both of them haven't been looking the greatest as of lately. I think Damon Blackshear has been up against the better competition. He's been up against Montel Jackson, Mario Batista. He beat Jose Johnson and Lasarda, and lost to Meerschaert. So these losses aren't to bums. They're not to trash cans. He's been versing some very well-rounded opponents, and I think that he's going up against somebody who's on the later end of his career. And I think Damon Blackshear is just going to be better than Cody Stamann. I think he's going to be quicker. Not only that, he has a huge reach and height advantage in this fight that I wanted to show you. I believe that he's going to stay on the outside, kind of pick apart Cody Stamann, use that good striking of his to maintain distance, keep Cody Stamann at bay, land those quick, clean combinations. He's also a good grappler, so I believe he's going to use some level changes in the mix, because I believe Cody Stamann is a all-right grappler with all-right takedown defense. He had a close fight with Douglas, or not Douglas. He had a close fight with oh my gosh, he had a close fight with Luana Lacerda where he won. I believe that wasn't a unanimous decision, but he looked good in doing so. I think that Damon Blackshear, though, is quicker. Like I said, I believe his hands are more powerful as well. Not only that, he's a little bit slicker and more technical on the feet than Cody Stamann. I think that he's going to be the better fighter here. I think that he's going to piece up Cody Stamann, overwhelm him, pick him apart, mix in those level changes as well as those body shots to eat away at that midsection of Cody Stamann and find those takedowns as well and maintain control of him. I really feel as though Damon Blackshear is going to beat Cody Stamann. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Damon Blackshear first. He looks good. He looks healthy. He looks jacked. I mean, he had 2 bad fights. These 2 previous fights were bad, but again, like I said, no bums. Very good competitors, very high caliber UFC fighters, and he's going up against somebody on the later end of his career in Cody Stamann. And let's look at him on the scales. He looks jacked. I'm not even going to lie. He looks lean. He looks healthy. He looks in shape for sure. This is going to be a banger. And let's look at the face-offs here, in which you could see Damon Blackshear definitely taller. Not only that, he obviously has the reach advantage like I told you guys previously and showed you. I think that he's going to be able to maintain distance, keep Cody at bay, find the striking. He's more technical on the feet than Cody Stamann, and he could mix in those level changes if he has any problems on the feet against Cody Stamann. I believe he's got the grappling advantage as well. Give me Damon Blackshear to beat Cody Stamann, and let's look at the odds here, in which Cody Stamann sitting at a plus 222, Damon Blackshear sitting at a negative 262. I like Damon Blackshear. I really feel as though he's going to beat Cody Stamann. Like I said, he's coming on the later end of his career. Damon Blackshear has been facing some very, very good high caliber UFC fighters. Not only that, we have the over 1.5 sitting at a negative 700, under 1.5 sitting at a plus 425, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 360 to negative 400, under 2.5 sitting at a plus 285 to plus 275. I like the overs in this fight. I think Damon Blackshear beats Cody Stamann via decision. And let's go ahead and run it up to the next fight in Charles Radtke versus Matthew Semelsberger. And nothing has changed with this one. I am sticking with Charles Radtke. I think that he 100% beats Matthew Semelsberger. I think it's going to be a great, great fight between these two. I think Charles Radtke has way better striking. Not only that, he's way more powerful than Matthew Semelsberger. Yes, Semelsberger has some knockout power, but I just believe Radtke is a little bit more technical. He's a little bit more calm and calculated. I think that Charles Radtke is just going to be too much for Matthew Semelsberger. Like I said, Matthew Semelsberger isn't UFC caliber. I believe he's going to get sent to the regional scene here because of Charles Radtke. I think Charles Radtke could knock out Matthew Semelsberger. I really feel as though he could knock him out, but I'm going with decision. I think Charles Radtke gets a unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28 over Matthew Semelsberger. I think he's a cleaner striker. I think he's got more power. Not only that, he has solid grappling, which I believe that Matthew Semelsberger lacks in. I think he lacks in the grappling department. I think he's an all-right grappler with half-ass takedown defense, which is why I'm going with Charles Radtke. I think striking-wise, it's going to be close, but I think that Charles Radtke has the power, is a little bit more technical. Not only that, he has the clear-cut grappling advantage, and he trains with the likes of Bilal Muhammad. Give me Charles Radtke to beat the shit out of Matthew Semelsberger and send him back to the regional scene. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which Charles Radtke looks jacked. He's throwing up the middle fingers. He's like, fuck Matthew Semelsberger because he's getting sent to the fucking regional scene. He's a bum. He shouldn't be in the fucking UFC. He's not UFC caliber, and we're about to see it this fucking weekend. And let's look at Matthew Semelsberger. Who is this bum? Who is this fucking bum in here? He looks jacked. He looks good. I mean, he looks healthy, but we're going to see how he fares in the cage against Charles Radtke. I think Radtke gets it done by decision, man. I really do. And you can see Semelsberger is actually a slight bit taller. And I think that this is going to be a banger, man. These two are going to absolutely go at it. And I think Charles Radtke walks away with the W. And let's look at the odds here on this fight, in which Charles Radtke is sitting at a negative 171. Matthew Semelsberger sitting at a plus 146. I have Charles Radtke as one of my more confident picks as of this week, and I'm sticking with that. I think Charles Radtke is going to have the clear-cut grappling advantage. I think on the feet it's going to be close, but I think that Charles Radtke is a little bit more technical and has more power than Matthew Semelsberger. And Matthew Semelsberger has been knocked out multiple times, but I'm going with Charles Radtke to win this by decision. I think that there's going to be a lot more grappling ties up than we think, but there's also going to be some striking exchanges. But I really do think that this goes to decision. I believe that Charles Radtke could end it early, but I see it going to decision in which Charles Radtke walks away with the 30-27 or 29-28 win over Matthew Semelsberger. And I think that this goes over. Like I said, I think that it goes to decision. So I like the overs on this fight, sitting at negative 275 for over 1.5, under 1.5 sitting at a plus 200, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 140 to negative 150, under 2.5 sitting at a plus 110 to plus 115. I like the overs here. I think that you get a lot of value here. I get Charles Radtke has that knockout power, and Matthew Semelsberger hasn't been knocked out multiple times, but I think it goes to decision. I think there's a little bit more grappling exchanges than we think, and I think Charles Radtke takes down Matthew Semelsberger, beats the crap out of him, picks him apart, lands some nice shots, and gets the win over Matthew Semelsberger. And let's go ahead and throw it to the next fight on this card, in Elizeu Zaleski versus Zach Scroggin. And this is another interesting one here, in which Zach Scroggin is coming in on short notice, but also missed weight on short notice. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. He's coming in late. Yes, he missed weight, but like I said, he's taking this on short notice. I'm going with Zaleski. I mean, it's an unproven Zach Scroggin, who was previously fighting in the FAC promotion. And I just can't pick somebody that doesn't really have UFC experience and is going up against somebody as good as Zaleski. Zaleski is a pretty good fighter. I mean, he beat Benoit St. Denis and beat the crap out of him. He beat Abubar. I can't say that. Nurmagomedov is what I'm trying to say. And he looked good in doing so. Yes, it was close, but he still looked good on the feet and in the grappling department. He had the draw with Renat Fakhretdinov, then the loss to Randy Brown. I think that Zaleski is just too much to come in on a UFC debut and win. And I have Zaleski to beat the crap out of Zach Scroggin. If he beat Benoit St. Denis, I don't see Zach Scroggin beating him. I think Zaleski is going to be too much for Zach Scroggin. I think he's going to be able to outstrike him, pick him apart, overwhelm him. He definitely has the grappling advantage. I think that he's the trickier submission artist. I think that Zaleski all around is better than Zach Scroggin, who is coming in on short notice, and we're going to see how he does this weekend. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we had Zach Scroggin first, who missed weight, like I said. He still looks good, though. He looks healthy. He looks pretty jacked. I wouldn't say lean, but he looks pretty jacked. And then we have Zaleski down here, in which he looks good too. His tattoos look sick. He looks jacked. He looks healthy. He looks lean too. He really does. And then let's look at the face-offs here, in which you could see Scroggin is taller and has a slight reach advantage. But it's going to be, I think Zaleski is just, he has the experience. Not only that, he's been fighting way better competitors, way better competition than Zach Scroggin, who is coming into his UFC debut and going up against a pretty good fighter in Zaleski. I mean, if he can get it done here, I will be very, very impressed. I don't see it happening. I think Zaleski all around is a better fighter than Scroggin. And let's go ahead and look at the odds here, in which Zaleski sitting at a negative 800, Zach Scroggin sitting at a plus 550. I'm not touching this fight at all. I wouldn't touch Zaleski at all. I'm going to be completely honest. I do see him beating Zach Scroggin, but these odds are very wide. We don't really know how Zach Scroggin's going to do up against the level of competition he's going up against. I like Zaleski. I mean, there's no other way to go for me. I think that he's clearly better striking and grappling-wise. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 155. Under 1.5 sitting at a plus 120. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 147 to plus 120 range. Under 2.5 sitting at a negative 177 to negative 155 range. This one, I'm going to stick away from the over and unders, you can go ahead and bet Zaleski -800 for money line, or I mean not money line, parlay edition, but you're really not going to get much, and he's not guaranteed. So I'm going to stick away from this fight in general. Overs and this fight in general, I'm just going to stick away from it. You're not really getting any favorable odds, and it's just not really worth it, to be completely honest. But still, give me Zaleski to beat Zach Scroggin, the unproven Zach Scroggin, who's making his UFC debut. And let's go ahead and jump to the next fight in Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Denise Gomes. And I am going with Denise Gomes. I think that Denise Gomes is better than Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I think that she's way more explosive. Not only that, she's a lot slicker on the feet than Karolina, in my opinion. I think Denise has some crazy knockout power too, and she knows how to put herself in positions to use it to her best ability. I feel as though Denise has some pretty good how do I say it? Pretty good boxing, and inside boxing is what I'm trying to say. She has quick hands. She has that knockout power to help her on the inside. She also has the good grappling, which is where I think that we could see her shine a little bit. I get that she's a way better striker than Karolina. I think Karolina kind of lacks in the striking. I think that she's a decent striker that likes to strike at range and maintain distance. I think Denise Gomes is a little bit more of a pressure fighter. She likes to enter, exit the pocket. She likes to move forward. She likes to tag you up, and I see that happening here. I think that Denise Gomes is going to be able to enter and exit the pocket with ease. She's quicker. She's more explosive than Karolina. Yes, Karolina is very good at striking from the outside, kind of maintaining distance and keeping you at bay. I just feel as though Denise Gomes is just going to be too quick, too explosive. She's going to be able to enter the pocket, tag Karolina up, exit without getting tagged up from Karolina as she exits. I think that she's going to have the striking advantage, the power advantage. I think that in terms of grappling, I think that Karolina does have the grappling advantage. I do worry about Denise Gomez's gas tank, but I think that if we're talking about grappling exchanges, I think that it's going to be fairly close. I think that Karolina is going to struggle to get Denise Gomes down. I think that Karolina does have solid jiu-jitsu, but like I said, she has trouble getting her opponents down to the ground and maintaining control. I believe that Denise Gomes is going to be able to scramble when she's down on the ground, when she gets taken down by Karolina. She's also going to be able to snub a lot of Karolina's takedowns, who she actually kind of like telegraphs her takedowns. So that's why I'm also picking Denise Gomes. I like Denise Gomes to beat Karolina. I think that she's a more explosive fighter. She's a better fighter. She's a better striker on the feet. She has the power to knock out Karolina. She's more technical, more slick on the feet. Give me Denise Gomes to beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz in a very close fought battle. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which Denise Gomes, she looks good. She looks jacked. She looks healthy. She got those sick tattoos, that neck tattoo, and then the coyote wolf, it looks like, on her chest. She looks good. She came in on weight. She looked phenomenal. And let's go ahead and throw it to Karolina, who also came in on weight, smiling, looking good on the scales. She looks healthy. She's getting good spirits, as you guys can tell. Let's see how she does against the power puncher and explosive fighter in Denise Gomes. And let's look at the face-offs here, in which you can see Karolina is a slight bit taller, actually, than Gomes. But I think that Gomes is too quick and too explosive for Karolina. And let's go ahead and look at the odds here, in which Gomes sitting at a -500, Karolina sitting at a +385. I like Denise Gomes. Again, I'm going to say this. I wouldn't really bet on this one because of the fact of how wide the lines are. I mean, Karolina is still somebody that you shouldn't sleep on. Yes, Gomes has that knockout power and knows how to put herself in position to use it to her best ability. It's just, dude, with these chick fights, these lines are very, very odd, and a lot of the times it's a very close fight. But still, give me Denise Gomes. I'm pretty confident in her beating Karolina Kowalkiewicz. And over 1.5 sitting at a negative 525, under 1.5 sitting at a plus 340, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 245 to negative 275 range, and then under 2.5 sitting at a plus 195 to plus 200 range. I like the over in this fight. Give me Denise Gomes to beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz. And let's go ahead and throw it to the main card opener in Mansur Abdul-Malik against Dusko Todorovic. And I am going with Mansur Abdul-Malik. I think that he's the better fighter over Dusko Todorovic, who is just too inconsistent, like I said. He's a little bit awkward and clunky in the striking department as well. I just think that Mansur Abdul-Malik is better in every aspect. Yes, we haven't seen much of Mansur Abdul-Malik. Obviously, he has the one win in Contender Series over Wes Schultz 2 months, basically 3 months ago. And I think that if we're talking about grappling, Mansur Abdul-Malik has a clear-cut grappling advantage. I think in terms of striking, it's going to be fairly even. I think Mansur Abdul-Malik is a little bit more technical on the feet. I think Dusko Todorovic kind of just throws wild, looping shots. Yes, they're powerful, but they're very easy to see and very easy to counter. Give me Mansur Abdul-Malik to pick apart Dusko Todorovic, be calm, calculated, patient, outstrike Dusko, maybe even find that knockout shot on Dusko Todorovic. I really feel as though Mansur Abdul-Malik could find that knockout. But there's also something else I want to say. He has a clear-cut grappling advantage, like I said. He could find that submission on Dusko Todorovic. But I believe he's going to find the knockout and chin Dusko Todorovic, who is very chinny. I mean, he got knocked out by Duncan and Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani. So give me Mansur Abdul-Malik via knockout over Dusko Todorovic. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here. In Dusko Todorovic, looking jacked, looking healthy, looking happy. He's in good spirits, and he looks good on the scales. He made weight, and he looked phenomenal doing so. And let's go ahead and throw it to Mansur Abdul-Malik. Same thing. Made weight, looked good doing so. He's jacked, he's lean, and this is going to be a war between these two. I think Mansur Abdul-Malik is more technical, less inconsistent than Dusko, way more powerful in terms of striking. Not only that, has a clear-cut grappling advantage. Give me Mansur Abdul-Malik. And let's look at the face-offs here, in which you can see Mansur Abdul-Malik is a slight bit taller, probably even the same height, but I believe that this is going to be a great fight. I'm not even going to lie. I think this is going to be a great fight. I think that Mansur chins him. And let's look at the odds here, in which Mansur Abdul-Malik sitting at a negative 457, Dusko Todorovic sitting at a plus 357. I like Mansur Abdul-Malik, another confident pick of this week. I think that he beats the crap out of Dusko Todorovic, who is just too inconsistent and just not the best fighter overall. Over 1.5 sitting at a plus 125 to plus 120 range. Under 1.5 sitting at a negative 155. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 260. Under 2.5 sitting at a negative 375. I like the under 2.5 sitting at a negative 375. You're getting good odds on that. I think Mansur Abdul-Malik ends it via knockout. Or if you want to, let's look at the knockout first. But if you want to, you could also go inside the distance. Knockout sitting at a negative 185. Inside the distance sitting at a negative 240. I like either one. I believe he gets it done inside the distance. So maybe if you don't want to take knockout, you think he could be live to get a submission, which he could be. He has the clear-cut grappling advantage. Then take the inside the distance at negative 240. You're getting great odds. I believe Mansur Abdul-Malik is definitely a confident pick to beat Dusko Todorovic. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout on the main card in Luana Pinheiro versus Gillian Robertson. And I am sticking with Gillian Robertson over Luana Pinheiro. I think that Gillian Robertson has a clear-cut grappling advantage. I think Luana Pinheiro kind of lacks in the grappling department. I think that she has decent takedown defense. She's a pretty decent scrambler, I would say, but she mainly is a striker. She has good strikes, good kicks. She is all right, to be completely honest. I think that Gillian Robertson is just going to be able to take her down at will. That's mainly why I'm going with Gillian Robertson. I feel as though Gillian Robertson after coming off of that dominant win over Michelle Waterson Gomes and destroying Polyana Vieira, I just think that she's going to beat the crap out of Luana Pinheiro. I think that in terms of striking, I think it's going to be fairly close in the striking department, but I still think that Gillian Robertson will have the better striking. She's got the stiff jab, the snappy kicks to go along with her striking. But man, oh man, where she's going to shine is that grappling. She is going to take down Luana Pinheiro at will, I believe. She is a great grappler with strong takedowns. She aggressively advances positions on her opponents, which I see happening here against Luana Pinheiro. I see Gillian Robertson using that striking, mixing in those level changes, finding that single double leg takedown, getting her down to the ground, maintaining control of Luana Pinheiro, then advancing positions on her and finding a submission finish on Luana Pinheiro. I really feel as though Gillian Robertson will find the submission finish on Luana Pinheiro. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos here, in which Gillian Robertson, looking jacked, looking healthy on the scales. I mean, she looks like an absolute fucking monster. She looks insane. And let's go ahead and throw it to Luana Pinheiro. Right after this second picture of Gillian Robertson, where she's showing, man, she's got to choke her out. She's going to choke her the fuck out. I'm telling you, she's going to get that submission. And let's go ahead and look at Luana Pinheiro, who's looking good too. I mean, she looks healthy. She looks absolutely yoked. She looks lean. She looks good. She really does. And let's look at the face-offs here, in which it was a intense face-off between these two. These two were right up in each other's grill. And man, oh man, this is going to be a fight. Intense face-off, smelling each other's breath, about to make out in front of each other. Alright, let's move to the odds on this, in which we have Luana Pinheiro sitting at a plus 305, Gillian Robertson sitting at a negative 405. Gillian Robertson is another one of those people I am confident in. I think that she has a clear-cut grappling advantage. I think in terms of striking, I think it's fairly close. I think Pinheiro has a slight striking advantage, but I think Gillian Robertson's just as good on the feet as Luana Pinheiro, and even better in the grappling department than her. Give me Gillian Robertson to beat Luana Pinheiro. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 170. Under 1.5 sitting at a plus 130. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 120 to plus 125 range. Under 2.5 sitting at a negative 150 to negative 165 range. I really feel as though Gillian Robertson finds the submission finish over Luana Pinheiro. And let's look at the odds on this, in which Robertson is sitting at a plus 110 for submission. And if maybe you don't want to do the submission, like I said, maybe do the inside the distance on this one. Where is it? Robertson inside the distance sitting at a negative 210. You're getting great value in that. Better than a negative 405. So if you guys like that, definitely jump on that. I think Gillian Robertson is definitely live to end this early and get the submission over Luana Pinheiro. Give me Gillian Robertson to beat Luana Pinheiro. And let's jump to the next fight on this main card in Cortavius Romias versus Gaston Bolanos. And I am going with Cortavius Romias over Gaston Bolanos. Gaston Bolanos is a great striker that lacks in the grappling department. I mean, it's plain as day that he lacks in the grappling department. And I feel as though he's an overrated kickboxer. I mean, he's not the best in terms of kickboxing. I will say that, because he sometimes overextends, leading him to eating shots and getting tagged. Not only that, bro, he got out-grappled by Phillips, who isn't even a grappler. So I believe that Cortavius Romias has the clear-cut grappling advantage. He has tricky submissions. He maintains control of you when he gets you down. He's got solid takedowns. He's a more well-rounded fighter over Gaston Bolanos. I mean, he's coming off of a dominant win over Michael Imperato. He's got quick hands. He's got knockout power. He mixes up his shots well. Give me Cortavius Romias to absolutely beat the crap out of Gaston Bolanos. I think on the feet it's going to be close, but I think that Cortavius is a little bit slicker on the feet, a little bit more explosive, quicker, has the cleaner combinations. I think that he mixes up his shots well on Gaston Bolanos, mixes in some level changes, mixes in some takedowns, finds success, gets those takedowns, maintain control, and wins this via decision. Give me Romias to beat Gaston Bolanos. I think that he could win this via submission as well. I think that this is a very close one. I've been going back and forth between decision and submission on this one because of the fact that Cortavius is a very good submission artist as well. He does have that knockout power. I mean, Cortavius inside the distance isn't a bad call either, to be completely honest. But let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos before we go ahead and jump to the odds first, in which we have Cortavius Romius. Looks good on the scales, came in on weight, looking jacked, looking healthy, throwing up the fist. I think that he's going to beat Gaston Bolanos, who has a clear disadvantage in the grappling. He has a clear hole in his game is what I'm trying to say, and that's in the grappling department. And let's go ahead and look at Gaston Bolanos on the scales. He looks good on the scales too. He looks healthy. He looks lean. He looks ripped. I mean, he really does. He's saying a prayer before he loses this weekend too. And then let's go ahead and look at the face-offs, in which you could see Romius absolutely eyeing the fuck out of him, eyeing him down. Romius is not coming to play. He's coming to end this shit. And I believe he's going to do it. And let's look at the odds here, in which Cortavius Romius sitting at a negative 225 and Gaston Bolanos sitting at a plus 190. I like Romius. I think that he's another confident pick. I think that Gaston Bolanos has a clear hole in his game in the grappling department. I think Cortavius is a very well-rounded fighter, striking and grappling-wise. I think he's just the better fighter here. Over 1.5 for this fight sitting at a negative 155. Under 1.5 sitting at a plus 120. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 155 to plus 140 range. Under 2.5 sitting at a negative 185. I like the under 2.5, to be completely honest. I think that Cortavius Romius either gets a knockout or gets a submission. I believe that he's going to find the submission on Gaston Bolanos because I think that he has a clear-cut grappling advantage, and I think Gaston Bolanos has a huge hole in the grappling department. So give me Cortavius Romius to submit Gaston Bolanos, and that is sitting at a, where is it? Plus 165 to plus 150 range. So make sure you guys jump on that. I really feel as though Gaston Bolanos has a clear hole in the grappling department. Give me Cortavius Romius to submit Gaston Bolanos. And let's go ahead and throw it to the next fight in our co-main event of Gerald Meerschaert versus Reinier de Rijda. The two Division 1 champion. Now he's not 2 division, but he was before he versed Anatoly, the drug user, the absolute tank of a drug user. I'm going with the same person I've been going with all week. I mean, I'm going with Reinier de Rijda. I think he's the better version of Gerald Meerschaert. I think he's the younger version of Gerald Meerschaert. I think he's better in the grappling department. I think in terms of striking, he's a little bit better than Gerald Meerschaert. He's a little bit more slicker, a little bit more technical on the feet. I think he's also got that knockout power to go along with it. I think that something crazy that a lot of people are saying, and that I actually believe myself, is that he has better grappling and trickier submissions than Gerald Meerschaert, who is known for being an absolute savage when it comes to submissions and the grappling department in general. I mean, he's got it all locked down until now. He's going up against somebody younger, up and coming, who's making his UFC debut, who is, like I said, was a 2 division champ, who is a good striker, a good grappler. I believe that we could see Reinier de Rijda even submit Gerald Meerschaert. I hate to say it, but I really feel as though he could. I think Gerald Meerschaert is coming to the later end of his career. I think he's coming up against somebody in Reinier de Rijda who is just new and is just hungry. I mean, nothing even to say. I just feel as though Reinier de Rijda is hungry. I feel as though Gerald Meerschaert is coming to the later end of his career. I feel as though sometimes Gerald Meerschaert kind of hunts for a finish, and I think that Reinier de Rijda is just all around better striking, grappling. I think he's slicker on the feet. I think he's going to be a little bit quicker, more explosive than Gerald Meerschaert. I think he gets the W here. And let's look at the weigh-in photos between these two, in which Gerald Meerschaert looks good. I mean, yes, he's coming to the later end of his career, but he hasn't really lost that sauce. I mean, he looked good in his previous 2 fights. It's going to be interesting to see how he does against Reinier de Ryder. Reinier de Ryder has been saying how he wants to fight in UFC 309 or UFC 310. I can't remember what he said. So he wants to fight fairly soon. I believe he might be overlooking Meerschaert a little bit, but I hope not. Meerschaert is no easy task. I just believe that Reinier de Ryder is better in every aspect, and he's younger, a lot quicker, and a lot more explosive. And let's look at Reinier de Ryder on the scales. Look at him. I mean, he looks absolutely fucking yoked, jacked, insane. He looks happy to be there. This is going to be a war between these two for the co-main event. And let's look at the face-off, in which you can tell Reinier de Ryder is taller than Gerald Meerschaert. He looks a little bit stockier as well. I like Reinier de Ryder. I really feel as though he's going to beat the older Gerald Meerschaert. And let's look at the odds here, in which Reinier de Ryder sitting at a negative 310, Gerald Meerschaert sitting at a plus 260. I like Reinier de Ryder. I think that he's a confident pick this week. I think that he's better on the feet and in the grappling department against Gerald Meerschaert, which is crazy to say. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 175, under 1.5 sitting at a plus 145, over 2.5 sitting at a plus 100 to plus 105, under 2.5 sitting at a negative 130 to negative 123. I really feel as though Reinier de Ryder finishes Gerald Meerschaert. I think Reinier de Ryder could knock out Gerald Meerschaert, but I also feel as though he could find the submission on Gerald Meerschaert. Give me Reinier de Ryder to beat Gerald Meerschaert in a back-and-forth battle in which I think he gets the better of Meerschaert. And let's go ahead and throw it to the main event. And if you guys haven't, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And let's jump right into this main event. And, I mean, there's not much to say. You guys already know exactly who I'm going to pick, and it's Carlos Prates. This is an absolute funeral for Neil Magny. He is going to fucking sleep. He is not winning this. I do not see Neil Magny winning this. I do not even see Neil Magny surviving Carlos Prates' onslaught. There is no fucking way. I think Carlos Prates is too patient, too calm, too calculated, too powerful for somebody like Neil Magny. He's going to be super patient with Neil Magny. He's going to counter-strike him, and he's going to knock him out. He has phenomenal counter-striking abilities. Neil Magny is a good fighter, but he's a journeyman. I mean, there's nothing more to say other than he's a journeyman. Everybody in the division has to pass him, and Carlos Prates is definitely going to pass him. I mean, there is no way that Neil Magny wins this. I'm going to be completely honest. I just cannot see Neil Magny winning this at all. Give me Carlos Prates to beat the crap out of Neil Magny and find the knockout on Neil Magny. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos in which Carlos Prates looks jacked, looks healthy. I mean, he always comes in on weight and looks good. And let's look at Neil Magny, in which Neil Magny's smiling, looking jacked, looking lean, looking healthy as always coming in on weight. Always looking good. I think that this is going to be an absolute banger for this main card, to be completely honest, in which it's a funeral for Neil Magny, to be completely honest. And let's look at the face-offs, in which it got intense. I mean, dude, Carlos Prates was getting up in his face. He wasn't scared of shit. Carlos Prates knows that he's got the skill to absolutely dominate this fight over Neil Magny. And let's go ahead and move to the fight odds on this main event, in which Neil Magny sitting at a plus 550, Carlos Prates sitting at a negative 750. I like Carlos Prates. He is my lock of the week. I believe he absolutely fucking kills Neil Magny. Neil Magny is a journeyman that everybody in the division has to go through, like I said before. And Carlos Prates is absolutely going to fucking maul Neil Magny. And the over 1.5 sitting at a, doesn't even say, over 2.5 sitting at a plus 165 to plus 160 range. Under 2.5 sitting at a negative 205 to negative 210 range. Over 3.5 sitting at a plus 265. Under 3.5 sitting at a negative 385. Over 4.5 sitting at a plus 375. Under 4.5 sitting at a negative 600. I believe if you're going to bet on Carlos Prates, inside the distance is the money move. I locked that as part of this, as part of my lock of the week, was inside the distance. I really feel as though it's a great value at -400 to -500. I think Prates gets rid of Magny inside the distance for sure. I see him knocking him out, but to be completely honest, I could see a submission as the fact of him knocking down knocking down Magny and following him to the ground and finding the neck. So that's why I'm going with inside the distance. I think -400 is good value for money, or not money line, parlays. I think that it's a great parlay addition, and I think it's an absolute lock of the week. Give me Prates inside the distance to absolutely destroy Neil Magny, and I think that he gets it done. And if you guys haven't, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!